At least once a week, we want to make sure we clean out our bobbin cases. We're going to start by removing the bobbin from the bobbin case. And then we want to take the brake, that's this little gunmetal colored piece of metal in here, take that out. And we want to clean out all the lint and dust and dirt that collects in here from use. We also want to take a rigid piece of paper or even a piece of backing material, and we want to take it and we want to get underneath the spring to get any oil and lint out from underneath the spring. So just run the card or a piece of paper under there a few times. Now we'll put the brake back in. And it just pushes back in place. And then we'll put our bobbin back in. And of course, we'll always finish by checking the tension and put it back in the machine. At least once a week, we want to make sure we remove the needle plate and clean inside here. So we're going to remove these screws. Remove the needle plate, and there's all dust in here that we want to make sure we get out of here, and this is your trimmer. Little trim threads collect back here. We also want to clean out all the little trim threads in here. So we'll start up at the top, and you can use a little brush that comes with your machine and get that all nice and clean. And then we want to clean all down here and get all these little trim threads and all this dirt out of here. And then we'll take a paper towel and we'll clean out the door and get all the lint that collects in there out of there. And then we'll reassemble. So we can close this, and now we can put our needle plate back on. You want to make sure you do that at least once a week. Tighten the screws down. There are several places on your machine that need to be oiled in order to maintain this properly. In order to accomplish this, it's actually best if you have one of these pen or needle oilers. You can deliver a much more controlled droplet of oil using this. So the first place that we're going to oil is right behind the embroidery head in this reservoir that says oil. And we're going to put between 6 and 10 drops of oil in there once a week. Now, the once a week is dependent on use. If you're using your machine 5 to 6 days a week, it's once a week. If you're using your machine only a couple days a week, or maybe an hour here and an hour there, then we're going to go by the stitch count. You can see the stitch count on your control panel, and when it gets to 1,000,000 stitches, you would apply your 6 to 10 drops of oil in that reservoir. I also want to oil the rails on either side of the embroidery head. So we're going to take this reservoir here and we're going to fill this up with oil. Once that's full, I need to move the head to the other side so I can access the one that's on the left side of the embroidery head. So I hit +10 and 5. That'll move the head over. And now we'll do the same thing, fill up this reservoir on this side. Approximately once a month, we want to make sure we oil the needle bars. We want to deliver 3 to 4 drops onto each needle bar. So using a needle oiler, we're going to reach in here, and you can see I'm moving the spring and the tip is up against the actual needle bar. So now I'm going to deliver my 1, 2, 3, 4 drops of oil, and then to the next one, 1, 2, 3, 4 drops of oil, and I'm going to continue to do that for all 15 needle bars. So you want to make sure you do each one of them. We also want to make sure we go behind the head and oil the lower portion of the needle bars as well. So when we go from behind the machine, we can easily reach the needle bars here and again deliver 1, 2, 3 to 4 drops of oil onto each one of the needle bars. Now when you get to the far side, you're not going to have access, so you're going to move the head over to the number 15 position and then go from the other side so that you get every single one of those 15 needle bars. Once a week, we need to make sure we put some oil on the bed bushings. We have 3 access holes on the bed arm down here. The first hole is right here, and that one is red. So I'm going to put about 6 drops of oil. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 drops of oil in the first hole. The second hole is underneath the pantograph. So if we use the pantograph movement controls to move the pantograph forward, that'll reveal the second hole, and that one is labeled oil. Again, 6 drops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the last one on a compact machine is not red. On all other machines, this back hole would be red as well. And we're going to deliver 6 drops in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, we do that once a week, dependent on use. Once a week, when we're cleaning out underneath our needle plate, we also want to give it a little oil. So we're going to remove the needle plate. Go a little further with this. Remove the needle plate, and here is our trimmer. So what we want to do is we want to put a little bit right around where it mounts on the machine, and we can take the trimmer now and physically pull it back with our hand, and we want to put a little bit on the trimmer itself on the moving blade. But we don't want to leave any oil on there. All we want to do is simply put oil on there, rub it on, and then take a paper towel and just wipe off all that excess. We only want a film of oil on there. And the last thing we want to oil is right here where the little pin comes up through the post. And I like to take a small screwdriver or something and just lift up and push down on that shaft just a little bit. And we want to make sure that we do that and push this back a little bit. We want to do that once a week whenever we're cleaning out underneath our needle plate. Putting too much oil on this fixed blade will make it so your machine doesn't trim properly. So you want to make sure that after you put a thin film of oil on there that you wipe it off so it's only a film, that there's no real droplets of oil up there. And now we'll simply put our needle plate back on. The rotary hook is the single most important part on the machine you're going to oil. We oil the rotary hook every 4 hours. So if you're running the machine an entire day, we're going to oil it once in the morning and once when we come back from lunch. I have my own little technique I like to use, and I'll share with you this technique and explain to you why I think it works extremely well. We're going to start by making sure we have a design in our machine. And I typically always have a design in my machine. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the embroidery head off. We do that with this switch right here. You'll see the light goes out. And now we'll come down to the rotary hook area and we'll remove the bobbin. And we'll take this and keep this out of the machine. Now where we deliver this drop of oil, there are actually 2 places in here. I'm going to hold the picker back a little bit with my thumb, being gentle with it, not pulling on it. The first place I want to deliver a drop of oil is on this felt pad right here. I'm pointing to it with the tip of the oiling pen, and I'm going to put a drop on there. Now, some machines may not have that little oiling pad, and that's perfectly fine. So I'm going to put 1 drop of oil on that felt pad. And now, this is the tip of my rotary hook right here. If I follow that back, right here, you'll see it forms like an inverted V. I want to put 1 drop of oil right on that inverted V, like that. Now, I'm going to close the door, and I'm going to press start. And I'm going to run this design for 30 seconds. Now, because I have this switch turned off, you'll notice the needles are not going up and down. The pantograph is moving. And you'll also notice that the rotary hook is spinning. So what's happening is that oil is being sucked right into where it needs to be. At the end of 30 seconds, I'm going to press stop. I'm going to turn the embroidery head back on, and I'm going to come down here, open up the door, and I'm going to take a paper towel and I'm going to wipe out the cover. Now, the beauty of this technique is any excess oil got spun off into this cover and it did not get all over my bobbin thread and my bobbin case. Now that I've cleaned this all out, I simply take my bobbin, put it back in the machine. But now, I have to clear that design out because it's in the process of sewing. And of course, I would either want to start sewing this design from the beginning, or I might even want to put a different design in my machine. So to clear the design out and back to the beginning, I'm going to move this head out of the way just for the camera's sake. I'm going to press EMB call. And when I do that, if I'm in the middle of sewing something, it says, do you want to cancel the data set? The data set is my embroidery file. I simply answer yes, and my stitch count will go back to the beginning of the design, stitch 0, and the frame goes back to its original starting point. I'm now ready to start embroidering for the day.